So, hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, thank you for tuning in. So, we've got a bit of a crew out today. We've got Mrs. Mindful MTB, we've got Jamie aka The Street Pigeon, and we've got Mr. Mark Shannon MTB. This is a repeat ride of Walnut Scar, because Jamie wanted to go, he was desperate to come and do this ride. So, I'm not going to re-document this ride as such, but what I am going to do, a bit of a special edition, mindful edition today. We're going to talk about anxiety. We're going to talk about reframing the relationship with anxiety. So stay tuned for that. So I'm going to start off with a little quote about anxiety from Alan Watts. And the quote is, "No amount of anxiety made any difference to anything," or something along those lines. Whoa! Having been someone that suffered with anxiety to the point of panic attack, I can definitely confess that that is definitely the case. Whoa! Oh my god! Not sure how I didn't die then. That was pretty rowdy coming down there, wasn't it? It's just really hard to ride it, isn't it? Boom! If you're going to crash anywhere, that's the place to do it, isn't it? Some interesting line choices today. Oh, when I say interesting, I mean pretty rubbish. So, what is anxiety and why do we need it? Contrary to what people may believe, anxiety isn't a flaw. It's part of the human condition. It's part of our set of emotions, and importantly, it kept our ancestors away from danger, kept them alert, and it kept them active, ready to act. So as part of that, it's super important. So in modern life, it does still have a role, kind of make sure that you pay your bills on time and get to work when you should. Make sure that you're a good parent and you present yourself well as possible on say a date. So it does still have its uses, and it's important to remember that it's part of a fleet of emotions that make us human. And you probably wouldn't want to miss out on any of the emotions, even if it can feel like the negative ones can have such a negative impact on your life. But unfortunately there is a mismatch in the modern world, in that your brain sees danger in the same way that it used to. So instead of us reacting to attack from a saber-toothed tiger, it sees email deadlines, meeting with the boss, presentations. It senses those as the same, very, very similar and same danger to those which actually did put us at real risk. So in many ways, we're kind of like evolutionarily mismatched to our modern environment. If you think of the perfect metaphor for this is a hedgehog. Hedgehog spent years developing a reaction of curling into a ball which was very useful to stop it getting eaten by a fox. But then in the modern world, not so useful when it's crossing a road and there's two headlights coming towards it, and what it needs to do is run and get across the road faster. So I think that's a perfect example, and I think us in our modern digital environments, constant news feeds, constant doom and gloom that we're fed as well, it's no wonder that we're kind of constantly living in this high state of anxiety. So we've established that anxiety is a necessary part of human life, and in my experience now, and from lots of reading and from lots of life experience, I have worked out now that it's about reframing our relationship with anxiety, which actually helps and actually makes any difference whatsoever. So anxiety isn't something to eliminate, it's something that we need to learn how to work with. Mindfulness doesn't erase anxiety, it just helps us connect with that emotion and understand what it's trying to actually tell us about ourselves or about our environment. So there was a Buddha that said, suffering equals pain times resistance. So just think about that for 1 second. Pain is inevitable. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be moments when you feel in pain, and there's absolutely no way to run away from those throughout all of your life. There's always going to be challenges which your mind processes in the same way. So resistance is our automatic reaction. We actually run away from that anxiety, and that's what's known as the second arrow philosophy. So the first arrow is the natural stressor. That's say a presentation coming up at work, or that inevitable conversation with your boss about a raise or something along those lines, or it could be being chased down the street by a knife-wielding maniac. All stressors. So that's the first arrow. That's that initial spike. Cortisol raises, adrenaline raises, and you feel super uptight. The second arrow is our response to the first arrow. So it's our response to the stressor, and that often comes across in ways of overthinking, and it's that which causes the most amount of pain and suffering. Anxiety spikes when we resist discomfort instead of leaning into it, acknowledging it and accepting it. For example, if you say stumble in a conversation, the stumble is the initial stressor, not a huge part. I've stumbled several times I've stumbled several times now in front of these guys just doing this little momentary speech here. The problem, the second arrow, is overthinking, thinking, these guys now think I'm stupid because I've stumbled over my words. I'm such an idiot. That's a perfect example of the second arrow. So just while we enjoy this superb descent, just want to talk to you about a really useful tool in your anxiety arsenal, which is bad. So I nearly just died on that section, so I'm re-riding it. Just saying to the guys here, I absolutely smashed down here the other week when I rode this, and today I am riding like a bag of nails. This is how it is, and you just have to accept it. Try and get what you can out of your riding day. It's just line choices all over the place today, just not making good choices anywhere. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about is marking your anxiety when you're in that zone and you're feeling the anxiety. Is about marking it, and that kind of depowers it and puts you in control. So I want you to just mark it out of 10. So 1 to 4 is kind of low level, there's rumblings, but it's not really affecting how you feel, it's not affecting you getting on with your life, etc. And then you've got kind of your middle range is 5 to 8, 5 to 9, where you're really kind of starting to feel it now and it's developing. And then moving up to 10, which is full-blown panic attack, which is you're feeling, when I've had full-blown panic attacks, the first time it ever happened to me, it felt like a heart attack. It was just horrible, and I think most of my anxiety since that moment was around the fear of that feeling coming back, because it is so hard, because it is so heavy. But yeah, reframing it with numbers puts you in control, and also allows you to recognise that it is happening to you and that you're in that zone. And once you've named it, once you've named it and you've called it out, it kind of like takes some of its power away. That is madness. That was insane wind up there. Absolutely mental. Oh my god, that was insane.
Very alarming descent.
Alarming.
Very alarming.
Okay, so how do we work with anxiety instead of against it? So first of all, you've got to name it. So you've got to say, this is anxiety and I'm okay to feel this. Naming it reduces the power. Number two, you've got to breathe and ground yourself. So you take some very, very deep breaths. If you're in a position where you can, I would recommend doing some actual proper breath work. I've got a breathwork protocol video up on the YouTube channel as well. I'll put a link in the description down to that as well. So that's a really useful tool for you as well. But if you can just, look around, name some things that you can see, name some things that you can touch, and just, concentrate on your breathing, that's definitely going to put you in a better state of mind. Rate it, as we've said before. So if it's low level, give it a rating 1 to 4. If it's higher level, and you're starting to feel more anxious, then obviously you can rate it. But rating, again, reduces its power, and you're acknowledging that it's a feeling that you've potentially got some control over. Facing small fears gradually weakens them. And if you keep facing up to it, rather than running away from it, you will find that it'll go further and further and further away and become less and less of a problem. And just remember as well that you're in control of your anxiety. It isn't a disease or an illness. It's actually something that you create yourself. So if you acknowledge that power to create it, you can acknowledge that power to remove it and push it away. So, just want to give you a little example as well. So I've already shared my panic to peace story and kind of explained. If you've not watched that video, please go and watch it. Kind of explain about my situational anxiety with driving. So here we are. Yeah, we were riding one of the 7 stains of Scotland. I wasn't in a good place with my driving. I think I'd had a go driving up there and was kind of like very nervy, not enjoying it at all. I would say in that zone, I was probably almost like a 6 or a 7. So, kind of like getting to the point where I was trying to avoid the situation for sure. Let Lindsay take over and drive. Anyway, so that was supposed to be day 1. That was day 1. This was day 1, sorry, of a 2 or a 3 day trip. And we rode Del Beatty and Lindsay broke her wrist on one of the slabs. And we decided the best thing to do was to get home before going to A&E. And yeah, obviously Lindsay was in a lot of pain and had to drive home. And do you know what? Because of the situation that we were in, actually felt fine the whole way home. Like, just weirdly, you know, I would say, if I had to rate it in the spirit of what we've just been talking about, you know, it was more like a almost not there. You know, maybe even just a 1, maybe just a little bit of anxiety from the situation itself, like the wrist brake rather than my driving. So it just goes to show how in a different frame of mind, you know, literally the same day, I've gone from being super sort of high anxious to like 0 because of the situation that we found ourselves in. That's my little anecdote. Yeah. So just as we come to finish up this ride is my closing thoughts really, and I think it's just like, it did take me a long time to come to terms with my anxiety issues, and you know, it certainly didn't happen overnight, that is for sure. I mean, many years of avoiding the situations that made me feel like that, and that just made the problem actually expanded. It became worse. It moved from driving through on motorways with you know, where they thinned out because of, you know, roadworks with no hard shoulder. We kind of morphed into just motorways in general. So if we can move away from treating anxiety as the enemy and accept that it's got its purpose, and you know, without it we're not a full set of emotions and reactions, and you know, there is going to be a time when you will call upon it and you will need it in order to function properly. So the more we resist, the more it actually controls us, and the more we accept it, the more control we regain ourselves. Massively important to reframe it in that way. And again, I think what my experience has kind of proved, that peace isn't about eliminating the fear, but it's about proving to yourself that you can move forward even when you're feeling that fear, and that's just facing up to it on a daily basis. And I really do hope that, you know, some of you have found this useful. I hope that it helps somebody somewhere. I appreciate it's not complete therapy, and it's a reflection from somebody that's actually suffered in that way, and still to some degree do get those feelings back as well, but I've definitely learned to sort of have more control. I hope it resonates, and I hope someone finds it useful, and you know, my thoughts and prayers go out to you if you are stuck in the depths of the deep zone. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and if you just take each day as it comes, small steps, I'm sure you can find peace too. So I hope you're all very well, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Good one.
And my love for you.